This is Future Tech, where each week we discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of where tech is headed in 2023 and beyond.
AI is in the spotlight again, this time on Capitol Hill. Sam Altman testified before Congress yesterday, and here to talk about it is senior reporter Thomas Germain. Tom, what did Sam Altman say yesterday to the Senate?
Yeah, it was a pretty weird hearing. He showed up and essentially the argument was, please regulate the AI industry to protect the public from the technology that I am creating. And it was kind of unusual for a number of reasons. One of the things that was weird about it was all of the congressmen and the witnesses, including the CEO, got along really well, like they were all little buddies. And essentially they all agree that AI is scary and it should be regulated, but exactly how, they have no real idea.
So it was pretty different from like hearings with Mark Zuckerberg where they're at loggerheads.
Yeah, Cory Booker was calling Sam Altman by his first name, for example, which is like really not the way that these things usually go. They all were very impressed with him. It was kind of smarmy. It was really different. Usually it's very hostile when they bring these people in.
Did Congress seem to understand AI? I mean, that's been a huge problem with hearings on social media and other things.
Right, I think no, and I don't think really anyone understands AI, but Congress definitely didn't do an impressive job for the most part. Marsha Blackburn, for example, was very concerned about this deep fake of Garth Brooks that she heard about. Not sure what Sam Altman has to do with that. But when it got into the specifics, it really was vague, and it says a lot about how little we know about AI and where the technology is going, or even what it might be useful for.
Yeah, I did see Josh Hawley call it either a printing press or the atomic bomb, and there's a lot of distance in between those two.
Yeah.
If Sam Altman's the one proposing regulation, what does he want to happen?
So Sam Altman's idea is that we might have a new regulatory agency that's just for AI, which sounds kind of weird, right? Why would a tech CEO want this government intervention? But it's actually a pretty normal thing. We've seen this for years on privacy is a really good example. Some of the biggest advocates for a privacy law are Microsoft and Google and Meta. And the reason is if there is a law, but it's not that restrictive, it's a real help to these companies, because if something goes wrong, they can say, oh, well, we were complying with the law. The problem is that the government did a bad job of regulating us. Be mad at them. And another thing that an agency would do is it would make it really expensive to build AI, right? Like one of the proposals was maybe you'd need a license to develop the technology. If you needed that, it would be really hard to do. Only a big company like Microsoft or Google or OpenAI would be able to do it. So it's a little more cynical than it seems.
Yeah, so they would be pulling up the ladder behind them if they did establish this agency, probably with guidance from input from Sam Altman.
Exactly, and it looks like they really care about all the terrible things that their technology might do, and they're on the side of justice and good.
Right, he said, I'm scared too.
Right,
If you say so, maybe.
Yeah.
So what question would you ask Sam Altman if you were on the Senate panel?
Yeah, I think the important thing to think about is like, what are the consequences of the technology as it exists right now? What could go wrong? Not in some hypothetical, RoboCop future world where AI is destroying everything, but with the tech as it currently works. And it could make a lot of the problems that we already have significantly worse, right? One thing that I think we need more of is like government mandated transparency, right? Tech companies should have to at least let regulators know about the data sets that this technology is being trained on if it's going to be deployed on this mass scale. And perhaps there should be people who know how this stuff works, who go in and investigate and like prod at the algorithms and see if they're not doing anything wrong. But I think the lesson that we've learned is you want to get out in front of this stuff before we have all these problems in housing and you violate the Civil Rights Act, instead of waiting for the problems to happen, right? We know what could go wrong. There's experts who have a lot of ideas that we could appeal to right now. We could start with that.
There was one on the panel yesterday.
There was one. They're right there. All you have to do is ask them. Or you could ask Sam Altman, right? Like he has this idea for a regulatory agency, and John Kennedy, who's a representative from Louisiana, asked if, in sort of a jokey way, whether Sam would be interested in running the agency, which is like, I get like kind of cutesy, but it speaks to how unprepared they are to deal with this problem.
Right, and Sam Altman has a job.
Yeah, it's like asking the CEO of Shell Oil if he wants to run the Environmental Protection Agency. It's just absurd.
Well, hopefully Sam Altman does not run our AI regulatory agency. To read more, go to Gizmodo.com.